All right, Wayne Bettess here, the founder of the Off the Tools podcast. I just want to introduce you to our brand new sponsor, directplumbing.supplies.com. It is founded by a former tradesman who has set up his own plumbing and heating merchants. He has an online shop, which is obviously at directplumbing.supplies.com, and he delivers across the UK. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Welcome to the Off the Tools podcast, in association with the Worcester Bosch 8000 Lifestyle Range, with your host, Wayne Bettess.
Welcome to this episode of Off the Tools. Today, we are joined with Scott Richmond, who is the owner of GWE, based in Bournemouth. Welcome to the show, Scott.
Hi, Wayne. Thanks for having me.
That's all right. We've been meaning to have this conversation for a long while. We've spoke a lot online.
We have.
So it's great to finally meet you and see this fantastic showroom that you've got. If you would just like to introduce yourself to the listeners, let them tell us a little bit about your history, where you've come from.
Okay, so my name's Scott. I'm the business owner here at GWE. I'm originally from Scunthorpe. You can probably tell by my accent I'm not originally
There
from
will be a full translation for those that don't understand the northern twang.
Went travelling about 10 years ago with my wife, and we spent a lot of time, in coastal areas along the beach, and just decided that actually when we moved back to England, we'd want to move to the beach. I saw a lot of people kite surfing, especially while I was in Australia. I really wanted to get into that. And we moved to Bournemouth because Poole, which is 5 miles away from Bournemouth, is a kite surfing mecca. So we came down. We didn't have any money. We've been travelling.
Where did you travel?
All over. So Australia, Indonesia, New Zealand.
Oh, wow.
Thailand.
So you've seen a big chunk of the world then.
Yeah, usual sort of route, And then, we came back. We didn't have any money, about £1,000. And we came down to Bournemouth for the weekend to see what it was like. And I remember walking down to the pier, my wife and I, and looking left and looking right at 7 miles of lovely beach.
Yeah.
And people kite surfing, and in an instant we both looked at each other and just said, "This is it."
Yeah, just had that feeling that this was where you was meant to be.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Within a week, we'd actually moved down. We'd rented a place. We'd moved down, and I worked for another company. I'd lined that up while I was down that weekend. Actually, I was quite lucky, and worked for them for about 2 weeks, and they took the piss, really. Working for peanuts, working silly hours. We went to Wales to do a contract. It was only meant to be 2 or 3 days. We ended up staying a week. So they just really took the mickey out of me. And so when I left, I decided that was it. When we came back, I decided that was it, and set up by myself. I'd been self-employed up north, so it wasn't new to me. So it was fairly straightforward in that respect. We set up the business 10 years ago in November.
So it was just you back to being self-employed.
Absolutely,
just you in a van out there earning your money.
Absolutely, yeah. I think within about 6 months I'd taken on an apprentice. Mm-hmm. There's quite a lot of work down there. There certainly was back then. It's still pretty decent now, but yeah.
It's a fairly affluent feel to the area, absolutely, so I suppose it sort of rides out the pigs and troughs that happen in our industry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So you started the business. Did you know what you wanted from it, or was it just a matter of earning a living in a new area?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, just to get back on our feet. Really, we moved down with no money. But if you're good at what you do, which I am, it doesn't take long before you pick up customers. Yeah. But I quite quickly ended up in that place where I had so much work coming in that I needed to start employing. That was the start of my path.
Did you read my article on the success trap?
Oh, no, I have. And I've read similar articles to that as well.
It's such a common thing, isn't it? Yeah. It can be a curse that you're really good at your job, so the work just keeps coming relentlessly, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So at that point then, when you started thinking, right, I need some help here, had you had any sort of formal business training, or was it all just on sort of your general knowledge and your experience that you drew on?
Absolutely. It was just I needed help. I couldn't do all the work. And and I needed engineers, so I started employing. And I've had some howlers, and I've really have learnt the hard way every step of the way. It's I say it's a lot more straightforward nowadays. It's not, but I've learned the hard way, certainly when it comes to employing people. Yeah,
and this exact reason is why I started this Off the Tools podcast, was to hopefully get these experiences that many of us have been through and get it out there into the public domain, because this sort of conversation that we're having isn't a normal conversation that you have with people around you, because it's not something that really gets discussed.
Yeah.
So hopefully to everyone watching and listening, that as the show progresses, things that Scott says and things that I say may help you avoid doing some of the same mistakes that we did.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to get that in there before we moved on. So you're at that point in life. I'm guessing you've got a bit of money in your pocket now because work's coming in.
Yeah.
You took on an apprentice, did you say?
I took on an apprentice first, and then I took on another engineer, and then I think I took on another engineer. Yeah. And then I took on a bookkeeping firm. Yeah. Who completely destroyed me. Wow. They didn't do what I was paying them to do. A very hard lesson that way.
So I just want to dive in a little bit here. At that point, did you just presume that they were doing what you thought and left them to their role in what they were doing?
Yeah, certainly on the surface it seemed like they were doing exactly what I was paying them for. But then, so I think back then we were using Sage. And you start to have a go at it yourself. And I paid for the helpline, the Sage helpline. So I rang Sage when I had questions when I couldn't get through to the bookkeeper. And things just weren't adding up. So, and I didn't, you didn't need to be a bookkeeper or an accountant to realise that doesn't make sense. Yeah. And then when I quizzed them about it, they didn't have straight answers. And I knew then, you can trust your gut. I knew then that they were leading me down the garden path. So I got rid of them at that point. Okay. And then I employed a trainee bookkeeper who had ambitions to be an accountant. Yeah. And this was back in... I had a flat years ago, and she used to come round in the morning and she'd do, I think, 6 or 7 hours.
So at this point of your business, was you based... You didn't have an office, or you was based at home?
Didn't have an office. This was a dining room table. Yeah. And she used to come round and she'd do 7 hours a day, and I think it was 2 days at college.
Okay, yeah.
And we kind of had the support of the college as well, kind of guiding her through my books, so it was almost like they were looking at the books as well. Okay, which and I'm giving someone a chance as well, which I thought at that time, if I can bring someone up from scratch, as she's learning, she can learn my business. That would maybe be the way to go. And
I'm sensing that maybe it didn't go quite as planned. Is that right?
It definitely didn't. No. I mean, we ended on good terms, and she didn't do anything wrong. But it just wasn't what I needed. I thought it was a good idea at the time, and it wasn't. What I needed was a bookkeeper once a month, and that's exactly what I did. Yeah. I was lucky to find someone, and I used her for quite a while, actually, and then I don't know what happened there. I can't really remember. I think, I'm not sure if she moved out the area, but I've got another bookkeeper now, and she's been with me for about 3 or 4 years, and she's brilliant. She comes in once a week now for the day, and just takes care of everything. And then gives me an update as well. So it's great for me, it's peace of mind. Yeah. It's worth every penny.
Having your numbers correct it's a vital part, isn't it? Because from an ownership, being an owner of the business, that's the black and white. That is telling you exactly what your 100%. Business is. You need to have 100% faith that what you're reading and looking at is correct. Because if it's not, you might be making decisions to do X, Y, Z. And
well, as well, I learned that. So I've had the same accountant now. He worked for a big accountancy firm, and then he went self-employed, and I continued with his services. And I got him to regularly check on the work that the bookkeeper was doing. So I was then, again, peace of mind, just knowing that she's doing the job that I'm paying her to do.
So to coin a common phrase at the minute, you're sort of built-in backstops into the system. Maybe not quite as big as the Irish one that's going on in the news at the minute, but that's a great little bit of advice there, is that, you can train someone, you can get something working, but you do need to have something to hold them accountable, and by having your accountant sort of just keep an eye on them and just make sure everything's sailing in the right direction. That is very, very important to have across all of the business, isn't it?
Well, we're cloud-based now, so we use Xero. I think you use Xero.
Yeah, I love Xero.
And that's great. So my accountant can log in, and he does regularly just to check everything.
Yeah.
So, it's just that reassurance.
Right, okay. So at the point then that you've got a few engineers on the road, you're working out of the home, where's this work coming from? Is it all just word of mouth? Or?
So when I first moved down to Bournemouth, I had some flyers made.
Yep.
I've still got one of those flyers pinned up in the office.
Oh, we'll have to go and have a look later.
Yeah. And I went round all of the local letting agents.
Yep.
And flyered everywhere. So I picked up quite a bit of work quite quickly there because I was not that registered and at the time, and my rates were very low.
Yeah. I think many of us have used that sort of, it's like a fail-safe starter, isn't it? You know, you can go in low, get in as many houses as possible to sort of kickstart the new venture. And
it really does kickstart, and especially if you're good at what you do, you know, if you know what you're doing, you get that work and it just keeps coming in thick and fast to the point where, quite quickly, you need to do something about it, you know.
Yeah.
So I've learned that lesson of, you know, having to increase the prices and take people on and...
Yeah. And do you employ the people that work for you, or do you sort of subcontract?
So
or?
I've never used subcontractors for anything other than joinery, tiling,
out of scope sort of works.
Electrical. But all of my guys have always been employed.
Yeah. Okay. So for those that know, I've taken a different stance on that. All of my people are subcontracted at the moment, which I'm not going to go into now, but it's just nice to hear different ways to do it, so you can make an educated decision on what's best for you and your business. So obviously with the increased responsibility now, so you're not only feeding you and your family, you've obviously now got people on the payroll, people's lives in your hand in essence, because without your money and your salary coming into their account, you know. So how did you have any training in managing people? Did you have any knowledge? Was it from previous existence?
No, none at all. No, not at all. I started my career with British Gas. Quite a quick apprenticeship, as British Gas apprenticeships seem to be. I did 3 years with British Gas before I left. Decided I didn't want to be a gas engineer. I'm going to go back to uni.
Okay.
So I went to uni, did a year there because that just wasn't for me at all. And then went to work for my dad, and my dad had recently become a plumber.
Okay.
And then his business was growing, so he started to employ people. So I guess the only influence I had was from my dad.
Yeah. So sort of picked up some basic sort of understanding on what's what.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then when I left my dad, I went self-employed, but didn't actually end up employing, other than an apprentice up north, didn't employ engineers and certainly not office staff for a number of years later. So it was just off the cuff, and just using gut instinct.
So you jumped in and learnt to swim in basic terms, which I think for some that is the only way that lessons are learned, isn't it? Is to throw yourself in and sort of find a solution to whatever problems occur, which is commendable. I think many of us have done similar. Obviously, we're sitting here, for those that are listening, you can't see, but there is a video that goes along with this, that we're sitting in a nice showroom on a busy street in Bournemouth. How did it go from you and a few engineers to what now is a very established business, looks great, prime location? Yeah, talk us through this. What happened?
So the 2-bed flat I was living in before I bought the house that I now live in, we started to grow the business, and I took on office staff. MJ, who's still with us 4 years later, who's in the office at the back there now.
Yeah.
So she came round to interview, and in my 2-bed flat, living room / diner, we had 3 desks set up, and she came round to interview, thought it was really weird. And
that's right. So you had desks in your living room in your flat.
That's right, yeah.
Absolutely, okay, right.
So,
I'm just making sure I understood. That was
So work kind of picked up quite quickly. We had about 4 engineers at that time, and we had a sort of a small office in my living room in my 2-bed flat.
Wow.
And we moved from there. I moved house. I moved from a flat to a house.
Yeah.
And that was just amazing, because we went from an office inside of my living room, 3 desks and 3 of us inside my living room, to having a dedicated room in my new house as an office.
At this point, was you out working still, like hands-on working in?
I'd just come off the tools then. So before I started employing people in the office, I was by myself in the office, and then quite quickly recognised that I can't keep up with everything. I was doing everything, typical tradesman.
MJ said when we spoke earlier that you were doing literally every task that was there. Yeah.
In fact, I when I was on the tools, I was coming back from work, as most tradesmen seem to do, self-employed tradesmen seem to do, coming home, having my tea, spending a little bit of time with my wife. And when my wife would go to bed, I'd get my laptop out.
Yeah.
And that'd be me till 1, 2 in the morning, invoicing,
trying to catch up on everything.
So I was off the tools, took people on, and then we moved into my house where I live now, and we had a dedicated room that was an office, which was just a godsend.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, a bit of space and a bit of professionalism starting to.
It was really good.
In.
Yeah, and so we had a lot more space, and that was the point. Actually, we had a lot more space, which was just nice instead of being cramped in an office and filing cabinets sort of stacked on top of each other. We moved from the flat to the house. But quite quickly in the house, I'd just had my second child. So quite quickly, my wife wasn't very happy with the situation.
Yeah.
She was coming downstairs with the kids and having to go sort of keep out of the way.
In her own home, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. We couldn't have the kids screaming in the background and crying and playing and banging on the door whilst I was taking a work call or MJ was taking a work call or the bookkeeper was in. So we decided that really what we needed to do was move out of the house, which was a big step. But my friend, a joiner friend, he had a unit with a mezzanine level and he wasn't using the office space.
Okay, yeah.
So we went halves on the rent. I had some of the storage facility in the unit and we had the mezzanine level as the office.
Okay, cool.
But that quite quickly wore thin. It was an hour drive there, an hour drive back.
Right, okay.
And that's a lot of wasted time in the day.
Yeah, a lot of effort just to get somewhere to start doing your job, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Definitely.
yeah. So we started, my wife and I talked about it. I said, I can't just waste my life away like this. Is ridiculous. 10 hours a week just sat in a car. And there's some things you can do. You can make the most of that, listen to Audible books, make phone calls.
Yeah.
But it was very early in the day and it was very late in the evening. So I was very limited to what I could do. So, decided that, we needed our own premises. We'd grown a little bit by then as well. I think we'd taken on another couple.
So this growth, where was this coming from? Was it all just sort of word of mouth and stuff, or was you starting to win some contracts?
No, up till that point, it was word of mouth. We were on Checkatrade. Checkatrade does quite well for us. We've been on Checkatrade for 8 years, and it still does quite well for us. I know it doesn't.
Wasn't it born round here somewhere? Checkatrade? Have I got that right? Was it somewhere down Christchurch way? Wasn't it?
Was it? Really?
I'm not sure. Maybe I've got that wrong. I'll have to. I'll have to fact check that. I'm sure it was down south somewhere, but
That's really
we'll have to check.
If it was, right? I didn't know that if it was. So so we Checkatrade. That's always been quite good for us. Word of mouth. We worked for a number of letting agents, and then a number of landlords off the back of that. And then I guess you get in touch with builders and had, we've done quite a bit of, not quite a bit of new build, done some new build, but then some fairly big projects. Some fairly quite,
But is the majority of your work sort of just homeowner?
Absolutely,
people, residential homeowner
domestic
stuff.
gas, plumbing and heating. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't do any commercial. So
Okay, interesting. So you've sort of in your mind you've decided, right? Yeah, we're gonna look for our own setup now. Yeah. Did you have much money behind you at this point, or was it more of you had to have it, so you sort of found a way to get it?
We were okay. We were doing okay. We were comfortable, and I guess I got used to paying rent.
Yeah.
Although we were going halves on the rent,
there was still it was an overhead that was already happening within the business.
Whereas when we were working from home, I didn't have that. Of course. So I already got used to that. So that kind of primed me for it, and then found this place that we're in now, and it didn't look anything like this when we first moved in. In fact, this was 2 rooms.
Okay.
It was an old hearing aid centre, so it was really run down. It just didn't look great at all. So because of that, we got a good rate on the rent. And that's fixed in for quite a long period of time, actually. We've just renewed the lease for another 3 years. Been here nearly 3 years.
Okay.
So it wasn't a massive financial hit. It was obviously an increase on where we were before, but the business was doing slightly better. We had more money, so we could afford it.
Yeah. Would you say being in your own place now, sort of you're in control of what's going on in here? Has it sort of propelled the business now? Because you sort of, from the outset, when I drove past, my first thought was, wow, this is a professional proper business, you know.
Well, it's funny because when we first moved here, we were in the offices out the back and never had any intention of doing all this work because at that point it just seemed like such a huge amount of work, such a cost, especially when you don't own the building, that I hadn't really considered it. We needed an office, and I didn't want to travel, and this did have the potential, but I couldn't see it happening for a while. Anyway, that quite quickly changed. We moved in, and it is a busy high street, and we did have some money in the bank, and I decided to reinvest and do this. Yeah. So knocked walls down, created this open plan. The floor needed completely redoing. It cost quite a bit of money to do it, but it's been well worth it. And the footfall that we've had off the
that was my next question.
And becoming part of the local community and all of these people that now use us off the back of it, I could never have foreseen just how successful that would have been. So that helped us as well. Yeah.
Oh wow! It's really good to hear because in these online communities where we first met, I think what you've got here is what a lot of people are aiming at. That's their target. They want to have guys out on the road putting boilers in, fixing all the leaks. They want to have some office staff. They want to have this kingdom effectively that you've created. So hopefully, seeing and hearing from you is going to sort of inspire people to think, it is achievable. You know, you come to Bournemouth with no previous history here. You had no connections, no money in it as such. Yeah. So you basically started with zero and built your own kingdom to the community, which is
hard work and late nights.
Unfortunately, most people think that there's a quick fix, don't they? They think there's this secret pill that they can take, but the only one that I found is consistency and hard work.
Absolutely.
if you be consistent and you work hard,
it's so true,
success will start to follow that, won't it?
Absolutely.
So so what we're sitting next to this. So you may have noticed this strange box if you're watching the video. If you're not watching the video, apologies, but you'll see it all on the social media groups. The minute I saw this box, Scott, and you told me what it was and what it's done for you, I knew I had to get one. So I'm not gonna say any more on it. I'd like you to introduce it. Let the listeners and the viewers know. What is this?
So this is our mobile command centre. This is a mobile office. This is an office in a box.
Right, yeah. And there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be some close-ups of this. But what we're looking at, just so everyone can see, so that you've got a printer, you've got a keyboard, you've got an iPad or a tablet, tape measure, flow cup,
laser tape,
laser tape measure. You've got a thermal imaging. A pressure gauge there. There's a room for documents and paperwork. Yeah. Wow. And it's all in a handy sized box.
It is, yeah.
So how did this come about? From you going in with your screwdriver in your pocket or your tape measure,
Exactly
what was the process?
I had a bit more time to work on the business and I decided to look at what I was doing. Certainly when you go to quotes, I was doing the majority of the surveys at the time.
Yep.
So I'm the first person that customer has any contact with.
Yeah.
So I need to create the best impression possible. So I looked at everything from what I was wearing to what I was carrying into quotes. You know, I had a keyboard, a clipboard at one point.
Yeah. I've tried clipboards.
That evolved to an iPad. You're carrying an iPad and a flow cup in one pocket, a tape measure in another pocket, and it all just gets a little bit awkward. And it's okay if you're wearing a jacket, but in the summer months you're not wearing a jacket and carrying all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Or worst case, you're leaving the house to go back to the van to pick it up, aren't you?
That's the worst thing. If you need to leave the house to go out and get a tape measure or a flow cup, it disturbs that flow of the quote.
Yeah, yeah. So obviously you've put a lot of thought into this. Is this the first model, or has it gone through some iterations?
This is the third generation, if you like.
Yeah.
Of it. Yeah. So this model now has a printer, whereas previous models didn't. Mm-hmm. Just because there's real value in being able to either print an invoice at the end of a job and give that to a customer.
Yep.
You know, that usually you get payment a bit quicker off the back of that. Or certainly it's more, you've got to giving them something more tangible. If you're there doing a quote, then you can print off the quote and put it in a quote folder. There's a little documents slot there for that.
I think this is coming at the right time, because I think there's a mini renaissance with physical paper coming, because 10 years ago, emails were new, you know, they were high tech, it was something different, so people wanted emails.
Yeah.
Now, we get hundreds of emails every day.
Well,
so having a physical document, especially on site, like I can picture that you're there, you're in Mrs. Smith's kitchen, you've put together the quote, all she wants to know is how much is this going to cost?
Yeah.
You know, that's the always first question.
Yeah.
Once they trust you and stuff, then the next question...
Well, it opens up the conversation as well, so you can give them... Once your card's on the table, they're quite happy to show you theirs.
Yeah.
So if they've had another quote, they're quite happy to get that quote out.
Yeah.
And then you can look and you can either pick it apart and tell them what's different and why yours is better or not, but certainly...
I can see how it can just open up the next level of conversation with a customer... And when you're face to face, you're never in a better position for that conversation. And unfortunately, from my experience and conversations, the vast majority of people don't get a sale on the day, or at least have the option to have the sale on the day.
This has helped us with that,
No, I can see. And like I said, we're going to do some close-ups on this. So we do your guys that use it. Did you see a direct impact on the business when you launched it?
Yeah, so we measure conversion rates, and certainly we saw that rise after we implemented these.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been using these for quite a while now, maybe 2 years.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Wow. So
you've got so much good feedback. Yeah. Obviously, you pull this out in front of a customer. What of the plumber is pulling that out?
It's putting you. It's making, rather than letting the couple compare apples and apples, you're making yourself a banana or whatever, probably the wrong terminology. What you don't want people to be able to do is compare you like for like, because then it ends up being a battle on the price.
Absolutely.
If you can make yourself different, so like you said about your checker trade reviews, the shop, you know, that aura around your business, you're already different to most people. And then walking in with something like this, again, you're setting yourself apart. So price becomes less and less relevant to them because they have so much belief in what you do.
First impressions are everything. I walk in with that, or my surveyors walk in with this. We put foot covers over our feet, or we'll take our shoes off and put them nicely to one side. We'll open this up, and immediately the customer is at ease with us. You know, it gives them peace of mind that they've got a professional in their house.
Yeah, I can see that 100%. I can't wait to get these out on the road in my business for sure. I'm really excited to see exactly the impact, because you've even thought about the health and safety. You know, a vault checker. You know, to make sure that you ain't gonna put yourself in a position. You don't want to be getting any electric shocks on any days, let alone on a quote day in front of a customer, do you?
And actually, this model's evolved to the point where if you lift the printer, we've got a backhoe screwdriver set.
Oh, wow. And you've got some vent keys and meter keys and stuff.
Bleed key, pressure gauge.
And then a nice little backhoe set. So I don't know, how many times do you need to like remove a box in or something, and then you've got to run back to the van, dig through your tools to try and find it. Oh, this is, wow. I've not actually seen this set. This is a beautiful little set.
Screwdriver set.
And for those that can't see at the moment, this is all custom cut foam, so nothing's rattling, nothing's moving around, nothing's falling apart. It's really is a great bit of kit. And are these available for people to buy, or are these just things that you do? And
No. So we've been using these for 2 years now, and I've had nothing but good feedback. And obviously, I see a lot of the boiler manufacturer reps, and they've seen this and they've commented. And more recently, Worcester have been to see it, and they've commented and said how fantastic it is and how professional it is, and how they'd love their WAIs to maybe have these as part of their toolkit. So we just decided that actually
you'll bring it to market.
Why not? You know, other people can benefit from it in the same way we can. Then.
So for any of you guys that want to know a little bit more about this, I'm going to put a page on the website, so the links will be in all the descriptions, and it'll give you all the information. Scott's got loads of information on what it is and why he feels it's important. And definitely, you know, I can see the value of this. The minute I saw it, I was just like, wow, it's like I was like a kid in a candy shop, because you've got all your gadgets that you want, but there's a practical use for them.
Absolutely,
you know?
It works for you. It works for the.
We've probably all got an iPad at home, but have you got an iPad that's in your box, ready to provide value to you.
Absolutely,
and start creating your money.
And the way we designed it with the keyboard there, it opens up like it's almost like a laptop.
Yeah. I could easily, if I'm face onto that, I could easily be typing.
Yeah.
On the screen.
Absolutely.
And like you say, it's effectively... And I love the robustness of the box as well. I know that's not really that relevant, but,
it's got to protect a lot of money's worth of kit.
You could throw that in the back of the van if you wanted to.
Absolutely,
and it's not going to damage what's inside.
Well, you've got a £300 iPad, you've got a £200 printer. There's a lot of money's worth of kit in there, and it needs protecting by that case. So,
because I think we've all been there with our iPad on our seat. You put your brake on and bang, smashes on the floor somewhere, and everything's going everywhere. Once that's closed, that is literally nothing's moving, is it? I'm very, hats off to you for actually developing it. Obviously at the time it was just for you, but now to bring that out to let other people see what you're doing and have the chance to purchase one, I think that's. It's a great thing, and
thanks, mate.
Like I say, I'm going to do some videos on the ins and outs of the box, some close-ups, so people can see exactly what it is. Because I think you used the word mobile command centre. Is that right? Yeah, and that is what it is. I have got everything I need there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
To crack on with my business.
Yeah, you get to the end of the job and you need to print the customer an invoice. You can do it.
Do you know what this is going to do though? For me.
What's that?
This is going to make me go and sit in some pub gardens and do some work. I can see myself now. I can see myself sitting there in a pub garden, nice cold beer, and doing some quoting or doing some invoicing.
Yeah, exactly.
So
time at home
I'm sure my wife might have something to say about it.
Still at work.
Yeah, exactly. I will be, definitely. Right. Anyway, so let's carry on with this interview. Where was we? I've lost my train of thought now.
So I think we discussed on how we got to this point.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm going to go a little bit off what I was planning to here. So, with the work that you do, are you mainly? Obviously, we've got the 3 boilers behind us here. Are you a mainly boiler installation company, or are you a general
50,
plumbing
50,
heat?
yeah.
Yeah?
50-50, yeah. So we do a lot of domestic service installation, service and repair, and then we do loads of boiler installs. So I think we're probably going to do 300 or 400 boilers this year.
Wow. So you're doing some serious numbers. Are you? Is that something that you've specifically targeted in what you want to do? That boiler installs are what you want.
Google AdWords, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you use Google AdWords, yeah? And do you do that yourself, or do you have a specialist?
No, we have a company that do it for us.
Right, okay. And how's that been with like the rise of boxed and things like that? Have you noticed that the cost per acquisition and stuff is creeping a little bit?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's tough. It really is tough. And the market's becoming more and more saturated. So, and I can't see it getting any easier, to be honest. I think we're advertising in the same space as some of these big players. Yeah. And because they're cutting out the middlemen, or you've got the powerhouse of British Gas who can... I mean, their prices seem to fluctuate. Yeah. One minute they're miles more expensive, and then the next minute they're so much more cheaper. Yeah. So, the market's saturated and it's becoming a lot more competitive. And you do have to roll with that, I guess, and occasionally we've had to do deals on boilers, and you don't make as much money as you'd like to. I think you certainly don't make as much money if you're not advertising in that space. Yeah. It's tough. I think the industry for everyone it's tough right now.
I'd say this last 12 months. I don't know about you, but for me and the people that I'm in constant communications with about their business, this year has been a bit of a tough year for a lot of people. Have you noticed that? Or,
yeah, certainly. I mean, you've got Brexit going on, haven't you? Yeah. Everyone's all your customers nowadays are DIY plumbers. Watch a YouTube video on how to take a rad off, so they don't need you for that. So there's not as much demand for the industry, I don't think.
My old boss, he took me on when I was 15, Steve Edwards, absolute legend of guy. I don't see him as much as I should. He only lives around the corner, but, life gets busy. Yeah. One of the first lessons he taught me was that the minute that there's uncertainty, so if it's politics or if there's like a natural disaster or if there's like a terror attack, anything that that is nationwide and gets attention, he said work will drop off. He said it's just human nature. Is people get a inner self-defense system that says, I'm not spending. I'm not, anything that I don't need to do isn't happening until I can sort of reassure myself that I think I read a book. I can't remember who recommended it. It's something about a monkey. I can't think of the finer detail, but the philosophy of the book basically is that there's like two people. There's two monkeys in your head, and you've got your raw monkey that has this.
I've read the book.
Is it Monkey Trap? No.
I
can't. I'll think about it and I'll post the link to it because it was a great book. But it basically says about how sort of like human nature is like a raw monkey. So, and you can learn to control it, but certain things in life that just happen, and these systems happen, and there's definitely been a slowdown, and that is the only. We've had hot weather as well. That just naturally doesn't help.
And we didn't have much of a winter.
No, we never had that sort of 2-3 week period of
enough to scare people into crikey. This summer we've got to get our boilers.
Yeah, so I'm personally hoping that things are going to pick up this winter. The weather's already started to turn. It's a beautiful day here, but the mornings are cold, which is always a sign that the weather's gone now.
Naturally, it's going to start to pick up, definitely.
And so you mentioned you do Google ads. Are you doing anything on social media at the minute, like Facebook, Instagram?
So we were doing some Facebook advertising, some sponsored ads. We stopped that for the minute just because we got quite busy. Yeah, and then we had some issues with staff.
That is the joys of that type of advertising, isn't it? Is that you can put some more money in when you need to, and you can pull it back when you're not so needed for it. So it's an area that. So Google Ads is a minefield if you don't know what you're doing. You know, you can quickly spend £1,000 and you think, what?
Well,
Where's that happened?
We had to go last year with a company that clearly didn't know what they were doing. We got no return from it whatsoever, and I think I probably spent about $2,000 trying. Yeah,
and so would you say having the experts look after it is vital for what you're doing?
Absolutely, yeah. The guys that do it for us are absolute experts in their field. Yeah. In fact, before they set up their business, they worked for a national installer.
And that was what they were doing.
And that's what they were doing for that company. So they're brilliant guys. Yeah. So. We've definitely got peace of mind knowing that they know what they're doing.
Do you use any of the lead generation sites that are out there? So I'm not referencing Checker Trade because I class like Checker Trade, Trust the Trader, which they're to me aren't lead generation as such because you're not paying for an individual lead. You're putting a profile. It's like a website, isn't it? You're putting your own website within theirs. When I say lead generation, I'm sort of on about Rated People, My Builder, Holmes Media.
Holmes Media. We use Holmes Media and Leads. Is it Leads for Trade?
Right. Okay. Yeah. And how do you find them? But my personal experience hasn't been great personally. But
no. Do you know what? They've actually been okay for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we continue to use them. So
so they're obviously
and we do monitor it.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. With the boilers that you fit, we've got obviously the beautiful one here. This is my favourite boiler at the moment. Yeah. Is it just Worcester boilers that you fit, or do you fit?
Predominantly Worcester, with WAIs.
So what level are you then?
Diamond.
Wow. Okay. So did you go over to where was their trip last year?
No, because we've only been. So I think this year's a massive leap from where we were last year in terms of sales since we started doing Google Ads. But I didn't go on a trip. Is there a trip?
I thought that the top guys.
If you're listening,
you're going to have to tap up. You're going to have to tap up your rep there because I believe, I might be wrong, but I think some of the diamonds get invited out to these conferences all around the world. So
I wasn't diamond last year.
Oh, okay. So maybe you're.
But I haven't had an invite so far this year.
Knock if you're listening. I've heard you need a +1. You need a +1. My hand's in the air. Moving forward, then, what's the plan? Are you looking to grow? Are you looking to cement your position? Are you looking to move into a different area of business?
I think right now I just want to see where the market takes us, see what happens with Brexit. Yeah. I mean, like I say, the boiler installation market is quite saturated at the minute, so it'd be interesting to see what happens there.
Because we've got some big players moving around as well, with like the likes of Google, Amazon, obviously like the rise of Boxed.
And Boxed are now starting to bring their prices right down. I think they're doing heat line boilers now.
Yeah?
Which is
Okay.
for pennies as well.
Right,
so
okay.
It's going to be interesting to see.
I'm very intrigued. I keep an eye over in the US just for curiosity because generally the UK, we're behind with what happens. So the US
I saw
get
your post actually about Google certified.
Yeah, so obviously we know that Google are doing certifications. So Google My Business, in my personal opinion, isn't going to be what you're using at the moment for much longer because no company puts together a platform for totally free. There's going to be an end game there somewhere, and I in America it's 100%. It's already happening. You have to go through very stringent tests and stuff to get this verified status. Obviously, we've got Amazon now flirting around, looking at
it's
home
a little bit
services.
worrying, actually, hearing that because we've been a member of Checkatrade for 8 years now.
Yeah,
got nearly. I think we're on 1,100 reviews.
Wow,
which is great.
Yeah.
But it's all for nothing if Google kind of take over the market there.
Yeah.
And I know the Checkatrade founder, he's sold. So is it to HomeServe?
Yes, I think it was HomeServe, wasn't it? Yeah.
Negative.
There has, and I've.
So it worries me really because I've invested all this money, all this time in all these reviews.
I'm in a similar position with one in my area called Trust the Trader, that I sort of laid a lot of my foundations in there. And like you say, with these other people that have such, the three top search engines in the world are Google, YouTube, which are obviously owned by Google, and Amazon. So literally, if any one of them three make a move, they could literally overnight we could be getting the impacts of that. And you've also got like John Lewis. John Lewis are now doing plumbing and heating and other stuff. And so
why can't they just leave us alone?
I know. It's going to be. I think there's always going to be a place for the local business. I think. In all honesty, I think these sort of big players are going to wipe out a lot of the one-man shops that are just them in a van. I think that maybe.
Do you think
so? I think they're going to be the biggest vulnerable people because
they need subcontractors, right? So
I see them sweeping up that market because I don't think these companies don't work on high margins. So it's all on volume, isn't it?
Game, yeah.
So they have the ability to pay a lot more for somebody to go and do a job.
Yeah.
So that's where I see it. I think that's going to be the case. I think a business that has a good reputation, good reviews, embedded in their community, obviously like you've got your shop, and if you're doing other things like in the local area, I think there's always a market for that. But I think if you're relying on just Google through SEO or Google through pay-per-click or Facebook for your advertising and marketing, I think that's where you may lose out. I think you need to invest time in embedding yourself in your local community because nothing beats if you're a part of that community. If you go to the school fairs, if you donate to the local football teams and become a valuable member,
to a local charity, things like that.
If
really
you become valuable to the community will look after you. I have all the faith in the world that the British community spirit is still there.
Agreed,
and I think you've just got to embrace that side of it, which for some may seem as a little bit of a step backwards because it's like, modern technology, everything's got to be online. But I still think there is a huge potential for growth and money to be made by just doing the basics, flyering, supporting the local community, supporting local clubs and teams, even donating some of your time. At the end of the day, if you run your own business, you're a leader of something. You could share that with local children. Like I'm just becoming a young enterprise coach. So I'll be going in and speaking to year 10 students where they basically set up a business, a real-life business.
Fantastic.
They get their own bank account. They actually launch a product or service.
I love the idea of that, yeah.
And obviously I don't...
real-life skills as well.
I don't get paid for that. I wouldn't ever expect to get paid for that. But what it does for me is... It's twofold. One, it fulfills a personal sort of drive of mine to help people and especially help young people. But it also it just gets me into a community of people that one day they might need my services. I'm never going to tell them to use me. Of course I'm not. But it puts me and my business into an arena that I wouldn't have got in if I wasn't willing to sacrifice a bit of my time, a bit of my effort.
You've got no guarantee that that's going to happen, but the likelihood is it will.
Yeah, the likely consequence of being helpful, being caring, offering support is that people want to reciprocate. People mirror what you put out in the world. So I think I went totally off there. I went off on a little tangent. So
commendable.
Yeah, so last bit on that, be a leader. If there's no leaders in your area, be that leader. Go and help out at the scouts groups, at the football clubs, at ballet. Put stuff on in the maybe not see all the gas engineers going to ballet.
And
maybe
if you had a mobile command centre, you'd be able to.
You'd have so much more time.
More time.
Look at that. We even got the mobile command centre in there, didn't we? Right. I think we've pretty much covered everything we wanted to. I hope that Scott's journey is an inspiration, because it certainly is for me. This is why I from a selfish point of view, why I love doing Off the Tools podcast, is because I get to meet some fantastic, driven, motivated, using my phrase, make shit happen, people that that get stuff done, and it really fills me with confidence that if we're all embracing hearing other people's stories, educating ourselves, we can all make a success in life. And
absolutely.
And I'm sitting next to a prime example. So that's it for this episode of the show. I'd like to thank you again, Scott.
Thanks,
it's been
Wayne.
a real
Thanks
pleasure.
for having me.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by Off the Tools, in association with the Worcester Bosch 8000 lifestyle range.
I really hope you enjoyed the show. I just wanted to pull it out there for anyone listening that I offer business coaching, but also life coaching. My life is centered around something called the 3 Bs, which stands for body, business, and balance. When you work with me as a coach, we tackle all 3 aspects of life. So you as an individual, body, mindset, health, fitness, knowledge, education. Business B obviously stands for your business, improving, maximizing opportunities, elevating, making more money. And balance stands for your friends, family, loved ones, making time for everything in your life. And the 3 Bs is the core element to that. If you'd like to learn more, I would ask you to reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you might be consuming my information. Or you can email me directly at wayne@offthetools.co.uk. I'm here waiting to assist you to elevate across all aspects of life. Have a good one. No excuses. Let's go.